Welcome back, everyone, to Ed Up Edge, where we discuss all things career education, leadership, and life hacks. Hear from some of the most amazing and insightful guests in higher education. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone, to Ed Up Edge, where we discuss all things career education, leadership, and life hacks. Today is a trending topic. We're talking about workforce development and skill gaps. Okay, as you can see on LinkedIn, especially, there's so many people who have been looking for work, and a lot of people are turning their heads trying to figure out, okay, what is going on? What am I lacking? So, of course, I had to bring the expert on. Okay, Mr. Glen Patterson, who's actually a fellow EdUp host, and he's the co-owner, the co-founder of WorkSchool. So let's welcome Glen. Hey, Glen, how is it going?
Oh, thank you for having me. It's going well.
Absolutely. Glen, I know fifth time is a charm. We've been going back and forth for almost a month now,
I
trying
know.
to figure out this episode.
You're too busy.
Exactly. I'm
Which
really
is a good
excited.
thing.
Say that again.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I'm really excited about this topic, and I know that our audience is going to be excited as well. So, Glen, first off, tell us a little bit about your background. Where did it all start for you?
Oh, yeah. So, as you probably not, I was born in Jamaica. So, one of the unique things about growing up in Jamaica is, you see a lot of things going on, and I was fortunate enough to attend a really wonderful school, high school, Calabar High School, one of the premier high school in Jamaica.
Nice.
Basically, probably, but while I was there, I really couldn't understand why I was there. I have to admit, my parents, they were small business owners. I kind of like that concept, but it wasn't the thing that people wanted to go. Fast forward a few years in, I'm out of high school. I'm trying to figure out what to do with myself. Like, okay, no one actually taught me about career path. Luckily enough, I met some friends a little bit older, and they were really instrumental in terms of just helping me just break into industry, even though I typically didn't want to work for someone. But that just seemed like the
Mm-hmm.
norm, right? At the time, it was just, oh, you need to find a job somewhere. So they were instrumental in terms of just giving me some career advice to get me into the workplace. And I started using that. I got some mentors that really helped me design that. And at some point in time, I said, oh, I want to go to the US and probably study. So I went to the US. And I find that even while I was in the US and I'm going to college here, the nobody really like sat down with me and said, "Oh, this is your career path. This is what you should do." All these things, right? And
Yeah.
just the same way in high school, where I just made a lot of mistakes because I was trying to figure this thing out myself. And
Mm-hmm.
granted, my parents didn't have a corporate job, so I didn't really know what that looks like. High school in the U.S. was, I'm sorry, college in the U.S. was pretty much the same, right? It was just figure it out yourself. So going through that whole just made a lot of mistakes, things I did, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward 2016, 2017. So if you want me to fill in the gap, you can ask. I worked in banking for a number of years. Just to give some context, I started out in banking because banking seemed like the right thing to do, right? Everybody's going to banking. That's where you
Mm.
make money back, basically. So I went into banking and I, worked in banking for a number of years. Then I left banking and I worked for a hedge fund for a number of years. But the truth is, I started realizing I didn't really like it. I was just there, okay, so you're making money, but I didn't really like it. While I was at the hedge fund, the thing I came across that really intrigued me was the venture side. And it brought me back to entrepreneurship. And I said, whoa, okay, this is
Mm.
really what I want to do. So when I left, this was in 2008, when the market crashed. I said, I'm not going back into banking. It's not what I want to do. I want to get into the venture space. I went to grad school. Again, even when I went to grad school, I wasn't sure exactly how to navigate what
Mm-hmm.
exactly to do in the grad. I remember after graduating from Columbia, I went to this job interview, and the guy asked me if I had an MBA, and I said, no, I didn't really want to an MBA. I really wanted to study economics, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually a negative. I didn't really understood that. Like, oh wow, I felt like I just went through this hard program at Columbia University, and it was a negative because I should have had an MBA. And I was like, that's intriguing. Okay, so these career decisions that we make, we don't realize how they will impact our what we do and what we don't
Mhm.
do. Honestly, so I said, okay, fine. I wanted to get into venture. This is what I want to do, which is what they call VC, venture funding, and entrepreneurship. So I got this job at City College. So I started working at City College as a lecturer. A friend of mine brought me, and I always found it fascinating. And it was, I really liked it because one, it was the student body I want to serve. Most of the
Mhm.
people resonate me, basically first generation student who was figuring out their path and going
Yeah.
into that. Now amass enough experience to know what I want to do. So I figure I could probably share some, you know, things with them, whatever it could be. But the thing that struck me the most was around 2017. I started seeing students coming to me and say, Professor, I know you worked in the industry. I'm trying to find a job. I said, and this is what I would say to them, honestly, probably naively, I would just say to them, why don't you go to the career center? And they will all come back to me and said, what career center is nice, but I still would like to get your inputs. Um, And I started realizing, whoa, the same questions they're asking me was the same
Mhm.
thing I was asking myself when I was in high school and college. So the whole parameter of how we help students, and for that matter, professionals, just get a job
Mhm.
didn't change from when I was in college at all. So I started
Absolutely.
asking myself, basically, how do I solve this problem? And that's how it's inspired me to create Work School.
Wow, that's interesting. So I was originally born in Barbados,
Oh,
right? But I came here when I was very young. And I remember I'm a first generation student myself. And so, my parents, they had minimum high school diploma. And I remember they had to drop out of school because they always had to take care of the siblings and work in the fruit shops with their moms. And it's funny because when I came to this country, I mean, I've been working since the age of 11, right? But when I got into college, it was kind of the same thing. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into computer science, not because I absolutely love computers, but because I thought that was the thing to do. I thought I was going to be in this lab wearing a white lab coat, and I was going to be taking apart all these computers and diagnosing. And the thing is, when I left traditional school, I actually went to a career school and I took the same program. I registered for the same program because I thought it was just the school that was the problem. But that's not who I'm built to be. It was my advisor that took the time to say, okay, let's get to know you first. And he started asking me different questions about what I'm into, my personality, and he was able to pair the perfect program for me. So it's interesting that you say that because this is exactly what our students are dealing with now. They have no idea what they want to do, and they're trying to mirror what they think is the in career.
exactly, and it's really fascinating that. So you're right. So that's the reason why I started asking myself the question. Okay, all right,
Mhm,
fine. Because now I've been ingrained into the world of entrepreneurship. I've been
mhm,
working with a few entrepreneurs. I've been watching all the good ones from around the country, whether it's Y Combinator, Techstars. I've been
uh-huh,
learning from them, seeing what they're doing in some instances. So I kind of have some understanding of how I could approach building something, basically. So the question I asked myself, what would a solution look like for if I decide to build something for to help people build their
mm,
career, get a job, something, right? What it would look like. So I just like let me go with the framework that we all learn from these places where it's Y Combinator, Techstar stuff. Let's just define something. And I wrote something out, what it would look like. And it's a sketch. It's very rough. It's very, not that good. And I just designed something in Wix. Like it was just a Wix one sheet, basically. That
mhm,
was like it was just Wix. This is what it would look like. And run it by a few of my friends, them, and they were like, yeah, this could work. Let's just I just started doing that. Along the way I made some mistakes, again, like everything else, like
mhm,
lots of mistakes. But I really started narrowing down as to okay, here are the core skill sets that people need. And if we just start highlighting them, because I just think that if I had that type of guidance in terms of here's
Mhm.
what your career path would look like, probably I wouldn't have gone into finance. I mean, granted, it was good, basically,
Mhm.
but probably I wouldn't have, just like how you said, probably you wouldn't have gone to computer science. I don't know. Probably I probably wouldn't have. Um, Probably would have followed my entrepreneurship path, because really and truly, what I always wanted to do basically was to just do what my parents did, just do a small business. They don't know what entrepreneurship is, but
Mhm.
small business owners, right? We
Yeah.
get the legacy of saying we're entrepreneurs, and it looks pretty, basically. But that's really what I want to do. So I always did that on the side, right? Where I'm always, like having some business on the side, just because I couldn't go and tell someone that was an entrepreneur. I needed a job to validate who I was. Now
Mhm.
I don't need it, but I always needed that, basically, because then if I said to someone, "Oh, I just run a business," they just think, "Why did you waste your time?" Basically, what did
Mm.
you do that for? So, but I'm always like running something on the side, like, probably just, like doing some kind of side business, which I enjoy doing, whether it's with a consulting stuff, or it's, and then, but I started, like, this is the thing that I needed to do, work school, and it was just really and truly testing out and learn and pivot as to what are the best framework to build. So if you look at the various generation of work school, which in the beginning, just to give you some, I'm not sure if you noticed, but a background, I became a lecturer at City College, and I've been teaching there now for 10 years. So
Nice.
that gave me some really insight in talking to the students, understanding
Mhm.
what are the pain points, what are their struggles around career path, what are they looking for, why this makes sense to them, and then
Mhm.
reflect on some of my things, that I went through in terms of the ideal stuff that I wanted to do. And a few years ago, this probably started, I think, so CUNY itself, which is a parent company of City College, rolled out this program for career success. And I decided to join it because I really wanted to see what people were
Yeah.
thinking of, basically. So we all became this cohort of people that were working on career stuff. And we met with a lot of, we had a pleasure of meeting with a lot of corporations that kind of gave us some insight what you're looking for from what you consider, workers, the workforce. What are some of the things they're looking for, and in particularly, what are they looking from City College students, right, or even CUNY students? Because let's be real and define this thing, right?
Mhm.
There's a really clear divide between the students that I interacted with at Columbia University when I was there, and the students at the college. So let's just
Mm.
be definite with that, right? You attend these top schools, and 99% of the time, because of your environment, your parents, um, is what it is. They have a clear understanding of where they're going to go. At least 80% of the time, most of
Mhm.
the students at City College don't. Probably, I would
Yep.
say 90% of the students have no clear idea where. They probably just, okay, this is what I want to do, and this, basically, but they're not sure. So they need that guidance.
Yes.
And again, just to go back to some of the students that used to come to me a lot, and I'm always helping them with their resume.
Mhm.
I just said there must be a better way to streamline this process. There has to be a better way, to do this. Why is it, there not a bridge between the university and the corporate industry, so that it's seamless, basically,
Exactly.
and then somebody in the school advising them on, okay, here's what you're doing in your classroom, let's mirror that and create a pathway for potential job opportunities.
Interesting. That's very intriguing because, being in admissions, having an admissions background, this is what we deal with all the time. And when advisors are talking about the difference between the university student and even the career student, a lot of times university students, they already have the backing, they have the support, they know what school they want to go to, what program they want to take. But then when we talk about career students or like city college students that you're referring to, some of them have probably been in the workforce, but have gotten absolutely nowhere. Some of them have never tried anything before and they have no idea where to even start. They don't even know what kind of programs actually pair with their personalities, right? And in a lot of cases, there's no guidance. So, this is why students choose programs because it looks good or because they saw someone else doing it and they're like, oh, I can do that. what's the cost? What am I going to get compensated for? And then they get into the program, they absolutely hate it. Now time and money is wasted. They still have to pay back those student loans. And it's like this cycle. It's like they're on this hamster wheel going absolutely nowhere. But what are some of the biggest skill gaps that you're actually seeing in today's workforce?
Oh, that's a great question, and I would refer back to that encounter when we went through this career success program that we did. The companies we met with, and they were the likes of Amazon and Bloomberg.
Mm-hmm.
They told us what the skills gap were: digital skills,
Wow.
data, critical thinking, communication. Quite frankly, communication was the number one skill gap that they referred to.
Really?
Adaptability. Yeah, it was stunning to me. I thought they were going to say, tech because it's Amazon. No,
Mm-hmm.
communication was the number one. And I'm sitting there saying, whoa, that's intriguing. So I took that back, and luckily we got some support from the CUNYs to say, let's see how we can create uh, a curriculum that match with the students' classroom. How can we create a career basically match it? So we did this, career mapping thing where we are
Mm-hmm.
matching what your career path could look like with basically what you're taking in school. And then we use the NACE framework. NACE is the National Association for College and Universities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically. And then the NACE framework list of things like critical thinking, communication, all these things. So we use that as a framework to say, okay, here's what we want to make sure that the students, how do we make sure that the students understand this in a way that they know they're learning this thing, but how is it applied? How do you communicate it? Right. So
Interesting. Okay.
those are the skill gaps that is real. And then we can go into the technical skill gap, right? Especially in the CUNY family.
Mm-hmm.
Like data literacy is big. Most of the students are not familiar with AI. They're not familiar with
Yeah.
it's really challenging for me to even understand sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that my students are not aware of how powerful digital marketing is as a career path. And
I. Mm-hmm.
sorry not to cut you off. I'm trying to teach them that in the classroom right now and show them how does this align as a $80,000 a year job
Yeah.
for you with a tool that you use every day. They're on their phone, they're on social media, Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, TikTok, and they're not aware that this thing that they're doing is a massive career path for them. So I am really trying to teach them that. I'm struggling really and truly. It's like I did not expect it to be this hard, but
Hmm.
it is. Like some of the students said, "Oh, I don't want to put my face on the camera." I said, "Wait a minute, you're on Facebook. How does that?"
Yeah, social media is huge. Digital marketing is critical. Every single company out there needs a digital marketer, right? In order to get
Exactly.
your
That's
thing
what I
out
said to
there.
them. I showed them the stats. By the way, I showed it to them. Like
Uh-huh.
I pull it down. I said, "Here's what,"
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't realize it was actually a career path, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking that their career path is in banking, basically the traditional career path.
Mm-hmm.
I'm explaining to them that that career path no longer exists.
Wow.
Um, so you're right. So the skill gap is even getting wider with the advent of AI and
That is
social media
so
marketing.
interesting. That is so interesting. It's funny when you think about it. It's like the most simplest things is what, can make you the most money, right? But when people sit back and think about it, they're like, this, digital marketing, there's money in digital marketing. And I think a lot of it is miseducation. A lot of people just don't understand how things work, right? So if you don't understand the root of why something happens the way it is, you're not going to understand why this is needed in society, right? So when you talk about work school, are you saying that the way the program works, you're able to look at the skills that the students are being taught in college And then on the end side, you're able to pair jobs in the industry with what they're actually learning in school.
That became the goal, because again, I'm actually teaching it as a faculty, right? But nobody's listening to me to implement it in the school. So I said, okay, I will just start doing it in work school. So I just created it in work school. Basically, so now, so you can come to the platform and I can walk you through that. Just a simple thing, like for example, your resume. I'm discussing to tell students how from a behavioral question standpoint, how to use the STAR method into answering questions. The STAR method basically is looking at the situation, task, action, results,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a powerful way of answering interview questions, basically. And it's also a great thing to use on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, 99.9% of the people that I encounter as students, I've never seen it. And I'm saying,
Wow.
how is that even possible? I've never seen the STAR method. So we're
Wow.
doing a disservice to our students, right? And that's what the Gap Work School is trying to do through career coaching, skill-based training, professional relationships. Those are the things that Work School is basically trying to do. And again, partnering with different places. The hardest thing that which I want to do is actually partner with universities now. Like, okay,
Mhm.
I know you have a career center. I am coming as a source, work with you. We don't want to replace the career center. By no means. They're there for a purpose, right? We
Mhm.
don't want to replace them. What we want to do is to go in as an added tool and added resources to help with some of these training, um, identify certain areas, and then leverage that with our partners, find partners to say, okay, fine. And even work with corporations, because again, just to go back to, this was very eye-opening for me. It was almost an 8-month program that we were visiting different corporations every day, and the entry-level workers in those corporations, which were students from City College and
Mhm.
the likes, were all going through career development in their first year or year and a half. That was stunning to me. Like I was there, oh,
Wow.
I didn't know this exists in the yeah, they were all going through. It's like when you go to college and you get remedial courses,
Mhm.
that's the same thing going on in
That's
corporation.
interesting.
You're getting remedial training to get up to speed to. So the first year and a half, all you're doing is just remedial career training so that you can actually fit into the corporation.
Mhm.
Well, I had no idea this exists.
Neither did I.
So that's the gap I want to build, where I become that bridge between the university and the corporations. They say, okay, you don't need to waste your money doing this. Basically,
Mhm.
we will bridge that gap so that when the students are coming in, there's a behavior vetted candidate where we are going through all these things that you tell us that they want, basically, so that when they get to you, instead of doing a year and a half, just do 1 month. And what we want to actually do
Mhm.
is get ourselves embedded in the corporation work school, that is, so we can actually work with them, basically, so we can work with the corporation to say, okay, here are some of the trainings that we have done, are there anything missing? So now all they need to focus on is probably a technical training if they're a technical company, or
Mhm.
whatever their you know skill set are. If you're a finance company, then you're just treating the finance. If you're a technical company, just treating the technical stuff. But why do you need to teach them communication? Why do you need to teach them critical thinking? Why do you need to teach them adaptability? They should get into the workplace knowing these things. Those should
Mhm.
not be a skill gap.
That's interesting because you hear a lot of people complain in college, like, well, why do I need psychology? Why do I need trigonometry? These are the topics that actually need to be replaced, with what you're talking about, because that's going to help our students to be more successful when they get into the workforce. But how important do you think upskilling and continuous learning is in today's job market?
You're asking some really, really, really great question. That is extremely important, because we're leaving colleges, and by no means colleges can teach everything. I heard a saying once that your actual learning begins after college finishes.
Hmm.
Simple, right? Because the college they can't really teach us everything, no matter how hard they
Mhm.
try. Believe me, they're
Mhm.
great at what they do, right? Teaching things. So I think people are misunderstanding what universities are and colleges. Their mode, which is their differentiated skills, their unique skill is to educate us. They're not good at giving us career advice. They weren't designed for that. They kind of realize that they need to do that, so they just drop some people there. But really and truly,
Yeah.
it's like saying to Amazon, why don't you create, and by the way, Amazon might just do that, so let me not say that too loud. Why don't you just create a biotech company? To no, that's not what Amazon does well. They want to do what they do extremely well.
Mhm.
uh, so universities, their model, their business model wasn't designed to get us career ready. They're teaching us, they're educating us on content, on things that is relevant for us to know. That's why they have all these courses that people say they don't want to take, right? Because it's like,
Mhm.
oh Jesus, why? But that's their business model, and they're extremely good at that. They have mastered this over the last 200 years, basically. So that's okay. So we shouldn't really like criticize them for not being able to do this unique thing as providing us with a career path. But I
Mhm.
think university needs to understand that and probably just outsource it. Like, you know what? Yeah, we should just outsource this function. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not
Right.
that, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Or at least let's have it, but we will bring in people to help with it, basically support it, support that function. Because really and truly, what they do extremely well is educate us, so we know 1 + 1 = 2, right? We can do that really well. But what I
Mhm.
don't know is 1 + 1 = 2 gets me a job where,
There
and
you
that's
go.
not what they want to do. And that's what most
Yeah.
of most of the faculties don't want to do. That's not their thing, and they admit that, right? That's not their thing, basically. And in some cases, it shouldn't be, quite frankly. If that's a services that they want to have, such as a career thing, they can have it, but they can bring in outside support to help
Mhm.
with that transition. So once you finish school, then the upskill and continuous learning has to take place. And
Yeah.
in a digital world, that is so easy. You and I are building this content right now. We're going
Mhm.
to put it on YouTube. More than likely, it's free.
Mhm.
Anybody can go to YouTube. I believe, and I'll say this today, I believe YouTube is the largest unpaid university for quick learning right now today.
That is true.
There, anything I want to learn, I just go to YouTube and look at it. And then if I get a basic understanding, I can go and pay for a course afterwards if I want. But I am not paying for the course first, because I'm sitting there saying, no, I'm not paying $500 for this thing and I don't know anything. Like when AI came out, and even though AI has been around for a number of years, but when OpenAI solved the problem and gave us, generative AI, the first thing I did was, okay, let me just go to YouTube and see what I can learn. And there were so many contents there. I
Yeah.
just kept consuming content. And then one day I took a course on Coursera. You pay them for it. But if I went to Coursera first and paid them for it, it would have been a waste of money. I wouldn't know anything there. It was just like, oh, what is this? So
Yeah.
right. So I went there with a base knowledge, and now paying them was, oh, really good. I got more out of it. So anybody can learn massive amount of content on YouTube, and every single professor, if it's just one professor, but just in the real world, there's so many really, really, really great people that are giving away content for free. Basically, you will see places like MIT
Mhm.
free courses, and these are free
Yeah.
courses. But yet, MIT doesn't lose money because they give away those free courses. As a matter of fact, I think more people want to go to MIT because they're giving away
Of the
those.
free courses, because they know what they bring to the table. They get a taste of it on YouTube. Yeah.
Exactly. The same thing with Harvard University and all those places. So
Mhm.
upskilling and continuous learning is extremely important if you want to stay competitive in the workforce.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with professional development, something that you do on your own. There's so many people, they're like, okay, I work at a company, so they're supposed to provide training. Yes, that is correct. But at the same time, there's some things that you have to be inspired to want to find out on your own. like my husband is a 12-volt installer, so basically he builds emergency and police vehicles. But there's certain tasks that he's given where, okay, if the directions do not go beyond a certain point, he'll come home, he'll jump on YouTube because he's just not okay not knowing, right?
Right.
So you
Right.
jump on YouTube and you find out that additional information. So YouTube is really good for long form content. And when you're learning from people, you want more. So now you're saying,
Exactly.
wait a minute, this is actually pretty good. Let me see what else they have. And
Right.
that's why Harvard University and those type of schools, they're getting more students in their programs because they're giving them a taste at the very
Exactly
beginning.
what it looks like, and you're upskilling you're basically, so you have to do that. You really, if you want to stay competitive, it's right.
Exactly.
One of the things that we try to do at Work School is partner with Coursera, Udemy, all those places, basically, Udacity, to provide people with these free courses. So we're not, it's just like, okay, here are some free courses that you want. I'm
Hmm.
thinking about designing certain courses for people who want probably deeper learning. So
Yep.
we can design some courses and say, okay, fine, let's go through some of the non-traditional courses, because lots of people just are struggling with public speaking. So I've been giving away free courses on YouTube about public speaking, right? I had the
Hmm.
benefit of being in sales for a number of years, so I learned how to public speak pretty well.
Hmm.
Basically, I joke with people that when I first started teaching, I my dad didn't really know how to teach. I was a good public speaker, so I could communicate effectively with the students. Then I would go to some of the classes and watch some of the professor teach and probably pick up things or two right there. So I just kept doing that and just
Hmm.
learn things. I said, oh, I could probably implement that in my class. But because I was an extremely good storyteller, communicator, I could really just communicate my class, and the students them really like it. They enjoyed it, right? That different, just
Hmm.
tell a story. And by the way, we know that's how public speaking work, right? The framework of public speaking is really
Hmm.
just telling stories. So I started designing courses around public speaking. So I said, what if I just created more courses and put on Work School, which is more formal? Then you can probably do a workshop around what this looks like, and target corporations to say, I can come in and just work with your workforce and
Hmm.
skill around public speaking or whatever communications or things that they probably need. So that's the next level of Work School, where we probably just start pushing out to corporation.
Interesting. Look, a lot of students, they're just not self-driven. Like you took the initiative to go into other classrooms to see what other instructors are doing. How are they presenting to the class? And if there's a hole in your process, if there's something that you're missing that you can implement, right? You have so many people. I've been finding this for a few years now, that people do not want to go the extra mile in order to grow and get to another level. A lot of this comes from within. If you want to get to the next level, that's something that has to start with you. Everything is not going to be handed to you. But I have a question. What is the difference between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 in workforce development? What's the difference between those two?
I think we're still trying to figure that out, quite frankly, basically.
Okay.
But I think if you talk to the tech people, um, which is where all of this is being driven, basically
Mm-hmm.
is, so the Web 2 is centralized. For example, most of us are still using probably say Robinhood to trade, for example, or some centralized platform to trade, while Web 3.0 is decentralized. Like,
Got
for
it.
example, cryptocurrency in a case. So anything to do with this blockchain concept
Mm-hmm.
is decentralized, and all the things around it, which is a whole, I don't know if I want to go down a rabbit hole because it can,
Probably not.
yeah, right. So it's just a whole thing
Yeah.
that's just going on that 80% of the population don't even know it exists, right? From, they probably hear about Bitcoin, so they're like familiar with
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin. So Bitcoin runs on a thing called blockchain, and blockchain has created its own universe, N.A.T., and decentralized, all of these decentralized things. That level, so think about that level of the workforce, which we see AI coming up right now. That
Mm-hmm.
level of workforce, when it takes traction, we're talking about $1 trillion industry between what blockchain can probably do, because blockchain can revolutionize the entire industry, because all it is, blockchain in and of itself, and I'm not an expert at this, so you probably can talk more expert without having enough base knowledge. It's a decentralized ledger. So it's something that I can say, okay, I just graduated from school, and if I put this on the blockchain, I don't need to go back to the school and ask the school for a credential. I can just say, let's say I want to transfer to a different school, right? I want to, let's say I'm finished City College and I want to go to Columbia for MBA.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm allowed to put my credentials on a blockchain and all the schools are participating, all the schools in the world are participating on that
Mm-hmm.
blockchain, then Columbia can just go to the blockchain and just look at it and say, yeah, this person actually graduated from City College. And how they know that? Because all the other person has verified that that's what it happens. So that's how blockchain works. So it's just a ledger, right? When
Yeah.
we're in accounting class and we had a ledger and you kind of balance the ledger. Well, they just took that, and the genius people just who can code just took that and put it on this thing and they call it blockchain, right? Which is just means that there are nodes and all those wonderful things, right? So if you think of that concept that the universities can do that, then take every single industry in the world, they can do that too. That's why banking are so. That's why banks are so afraid of this whole decentralized blockchain.
Got it.
Because if you think AI is disruptive, and by the way, AI is pretty disruptive, blockchain, which they figure out how to stop, can be a lot more disruptive to every single industry, because you can now say, okay, if I'm a farmer and I want people to know what my products are, I can put all my products on blockchain. If I'm a medical, the whole medical system can now go on blockchain. And if that happens, then all of the waste that we have, which is the reason why, and I don't want to say this too loud, so please don't let me want to cancel me if I say this, but I'm just making a reference. I'm not supporting anyone, basically. That's the reason why you heard this one guy said, which his name is Musk, said, I don't want to call his name too loud because I don't want people to cancel me. I'm not trying to support anyone, please. Said we should put the medical records on blockchain. Right, because if you do, you probably cut out a lot of waste that we see in the medical industry,
Yeah.
basically. So that's what the Web 3.0 is, and we're at a tipping point. I think at some point we will get a critical mass the same way with AI. What most people don't realize is that we have been trying to solve this concept of AI for probably around 30 years. OpenAI brought generative AI to us and opened up this entire thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
in the next 5 years we won't even understand ourselves, quite frankly. So I keep
Wow.
telling the students that the job that they're applying for now won't exist in the next 5 years. So I keep explaining that to them. Don't study for the job that exists today. Study for the job that will exist in 5 or 6 years, because it's coming, and it's coming really fast. Between AI and blockchain, we will really be surprised what the whole system will look like. And
Wow.
rightfully so, lots of people are afraid of it, but I think students have to start preparing for that world.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That actually goes into my next question as far as how will technology actually shape the future of hiring and training?
Right. And so the beauty about what you see today, at least outside of education, and and part of the sad thing about this, right? The top tier schools, Stanford University, Harvard University, Yale, you name them, right? Because they're always at the cutting edge of technology, they're already designing what the future of training will look like,
Hmm.
basically, because corporations are already set to hire those people, right? And it's AI just moved really fast, faster than most people
Yeah.
are actually thinking that it would. So corporations are spending lots of money to make sure that they will stay. If you go back several years ago, in particular the 2000, lots of people were worried that the internet won't show up. Basically, you probably remember that, right?
Yep.
Um, Corporations are feeling the same way around AI right now. They're just really worried that if they don't start implementing AI in their company, they won't exist in the next
Yeah.
couple of years, right? And rightfully so, rightfully so. So the training, which is the university piece, have to really start doing that. And I think that if the lower tier schools don't really drastically catch up with AI training, their students are going to be left behind. It's a simple
Saying this,
process.
I think higher education as a whole is like decades behind the rest of the world, you
Right.
know?
But this, again, the sad part about it
Hmm.
is that, like I just said, that the top 20 or 30
Yeah.
schools are not behind. They're always find a way, obviously, because they have lots more money. That's
Hmm.
one thing. So they can put money and resources behind it. Um, they're gonna find a way. We see places like MIT and those places are coming out with AI courses. They're coming out with developing their own AI infrastructure, all these things, right? So they're going to find a way. I'm worried that the bottom, I don't know, 70% that just don't have the resources. They have to rely on those schools to build the infrastructure so they can get on it. The students are going to be, and you see it happening, like I just
Yeah.
said, my students don't understand how a simple thing like social media marketing is a high paying job. They just they can't wrap their head around that. They really don't get that. Like they could actually get a job in social media marketing and make
Hmm.
more money than going to work at a bank.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, as even more, and I, so if they know how to do social media marketing, which 99% of them actually have the skill set because they're on social media all day long,
Hmm.
they just need to. So the biggest problem is that they're over indexing on the use of social media and on the indexing on using social media as a means to get a
Yes.
job or to create income.
Hmm.
The bottom part, they're not seeing it. They're really struggling to understand how. I'm trying my best to teach them. My entire class is around that this year, around in marketing. I've turned it into a digital marketing course and trying
I
to
love
teach
that.
them what that looks like, right? Like, by the way, I said to them, you're going to have to create a podcast like what we're doing right now.
Hmm.
My students are terrified. They're like, I have to create a podcast? They're terrified.
Wow.
And I'm just sitting there saying, how are these people, how are these students, or they are mobile first generation,
Yes.
and they're so afraid of this thing. The disconnect doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Lack of knowing, and there's a disconnect. I mean, when you think about it, if someone is talking to a friend or a family member on the phone, right? You're talking to someone on Zoom and you're talking about any topic. It's so interesting how free people are when they're just talking about topics that they're interested in. Turn that into podcast, right? It's still the same thing. You're talking to different people about the topics that you're interested in. But I think people overthink every situation. So it's like you're doing it anyway. But now if
Exactly,
it becomes
exactly.
something that you have to do, it's like, oh my gosh, how do I get started? You've been doing this. It's
Right.
just a
And
different format.
you're so right. I'm explaining to my students that they're doing it. I said, you're on your phone. I'm just asking you to reverse that instead of putting up a video for just entertainment.
Yeah.
What if we just attach a thing on it and sell something?
Yeah.
And they're struggling with that. So I'm just working them through that. But here's the thing about all of this, right? Is because they're already using these things, it
Hmm.
is pretty easy for us to just encourage them to, okay, if you just use it, because again, once you get them to start seeing that it actually works,
Hmm.
then this fear of the unknown will start go away, right? And you have to walk them through it, right? Okay, fine. Like one student said to me, like I said to you earlier. So I said to them, "Oh, by the way, you can actually create a faceless YouTube channel." They're like, "What?" I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So don't worry. So you don't want your picture. You don't want your picture. Let's create a faceless YouTube channel. Let's walk you through that. And every single one of those students are creating content, which is the weirdest thing. Matter of fact, one student was actually selling things on Instagram. So I said, "Oh, let's go through that process." They had no idea why they were actually making the content to sell things on Instagram, even though they were selling something on Instagram.
That's strange.
Right.
That's
Because
really
there is a big knowledge gap.
interesting.
So one of the things that you'll learn a lot on YouTube, which is a fantastic place to see some of the best creators in the world that are making money, just go and watch them. And I remember this one guy said, I'm not sure if I want to use their name, but I remember this one guy said, yeah, I remember him name because somebody might watch it. This guy named, I watched this guy once, two of them that I like, this guy named Stephen Bartlett and one named Alex Amosi. And they always say things like this, and I think it's pretty important. The difference between where you are right now in making a salary and where you want to be is this the knowledge gap. And I realize it's true. It's a,
Yeah.
one is a belief system and the next one is a knowledge gap. Because when a student is on Instagram and saying they're trying to sell something on Instagram, but they don't know that the content that they're building is digital marketing to do that, then it's just a knowledge gap. So if
Yeah.
we can find a way to reduce the knowledge gap, we will really make an impact. And I think it's an incumbent upon school to evolve from just, oh, we're educators. All we do is teach you 1+1. To start saying, no, we're educators, but let me just walk you through how 1+1 get you this high paying income.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that challenging
It's really
for
not.
faculty to just add attach that to their. So so you're right. At some level, college and university has to evolve. Just slightly, we still want you to be extremely good at what you do in terms of um, delivering the teaching philosophy, but let's find a way to broaden how students can use it and then become a little bit more flexible in terms of adding courses like social media marketing because people just think it's silly and not realizing is that all the marketing that's being done, well, let me not say all, that's too general. 85% of the marketing that's being done today is being done on social media. They've
Mhm.
replaced radio, they've replaced news. If you think about the last election, the biggest marketing tool was podcasts.
That
The
is true.
biggest marketing tool, podcasts.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sadly, the president, Trump, was on every single podcast. And by the way, the largest podcast in the world by some guy named Joe, whatever,
Hmm.
basically. So if we're not understanding this and start providing this to our student, like, oh, you want a job? Let's also teach you this, right? You can. It's great to know finance. It's great to all these things, basically. But if you can just figure out, oh, okay, how does this thing that the new form of marketing works, then I can go get a job in marketing and makes lots of money. And by the way, what we're talking about right here, if you look, and I just mentioned two guys, Stephen Bartlett, Alex Amosi, their net worth together is probably over $100 million,
Wow.
and they got that just from doing digital marketing. Basically, I mean, that's simplest. I'm simplifying it
Hmm.
right there, but they're
Yeah.
just like the best marketing people in the world. Like if you look at Stephen Bartlett podcast, it is probably top 5 in the world, basically, and he
Interesting.
probably makes around $20 million off of that alone. Then you look at Alex Amosi, he probably makes anywhere between, I'm just guessing, probably it will correct me, but 50 to $100 million, and most of it is just content that he's giving you on YouTube, on social media for free, then drives it back to his platform and sell you things, right? It's marketing. Every company does that. If the ones that do it extremely well, and when they hire you, so if a company say I want to hire you, and you are 25, 22, 23, 21 year old, and you 16 years old, and you don't know to do that, why would they want to hire you? It wouldn't even make any sense to them at all.
That's interesting. A lot of schools are not teaching soft skills. So, like you said, they're teaching the generic 1+1 = 2. But then when they get in the workforce, they don't understand how to communicate effectively with people, right? Soft skills are so important over technical skills. And there's so many employers nowadays who's willing to hire someone with soft skills and train them in the technical skills than to hire someone who has all of these technical skills and the worst attitudes whatsoever. customer service skills, showing up to work on time, knowing how to communicate with people. These are skills that are lacking. But in order for this to change, one, instructors need to understand that there's a problem, that there is a knowledge gap there. Because we can't fix anything if people are not going to admit that there is a gap. So it's going to take some effort. Glenn, this was a very insightful episode. I mean, we can go on forever because this is one topic that, especially our students who are investing so much money in their education, they really need to understand the end result. And something that you said was so intriguing, the difference between where your salary is now and where you want it to be is the knowledge gap. That is so critical. Glenn, what advice do you have for learners and job seekers who are looking to stay competitive?
Oh, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. By the way, thanks for having me again.
Sure,
Um,
absolutely.
I do believe that we have to continuous learning is extremely important. Upskilling every chance you get. Spend lots of time on YouTube consuming the free content. If you find it valuable, then find a coach. Go take a course somewhere. You can get more. Um, I know some people don't want to go back to school to spend lots of money on an MBA. If that's not for you, you can pay for the courses, but you can get free content. If you feel like, oh, I don't, money is a problem right now, go absorb free content. Start watching lots of podcasts. Start looking at YouTube. Just, I don't have time to do it. So my time for watching those things is my hour and a half that I'm on the treadmill running. That's when I consume those things. Believe it or not. Like I'm at home, I'm on my treadmill running. I have a YouTube channel going on and I'm just consuming. Some days it's challenging because I will hear something really, really powerful. And I just want to stop the treadmill and go write it down. But I just, okay, I just like,
Mhm,
okay, I'll go back to that later. And I just keep running. Or if I'm lifting weights, I just
mhm,
consume the things, right? So find a time, like really and truly. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love watching Netflix, but start limiting your Netflix time. Just like, you know what? I'm just going to do an
mhm.
hour and then the rest you consume some YouTube so you can get some stuff. Always have your pen and paper and take knowledge. If you find it and you like it and it really resonates with you and you want more, then you can probably go to one of the platforms. If you feel like you don't want to go back to school and pay $100,000, you can go to a Coursera, one of those places, and you just pick it. You can come to WorkSchool. We will help you design a course, basically, so you can do that. But I will really and truly say, be adaptable, continue learning new skills, and build a strong network. The biggest thing the pandemic did for me was to go online and find a lot of these people, like I just mentioned. There were like a million of these really wonderful people that I just started finding their podcasts and watching. I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Like I literally learned, and they recommend books, right? Because they all wrote, and I just sit down. Some of them don't resonate with me, so I have to go read their books.
Mhm.
I just sit down and buy the book, $10, $15, and I read the book. But they teach you all the things you want to know about marketing. They used to say if you want to hide something, put it in a book, right? That's what they used to say. It's still a similar way, but I think today, if you want to hide it, people are just putting on YouTube. Seriously, come on, people. Just like go to YouTube, right? And just get the knowledge, and then you can buy their book. And then if you have more money, you can consume a course.
Mhm,
Personally, for me, I tell people, listen, I'm not opposed to spending $5,000, $6,000 on a course if I
mhm.
feel like I need this, basically.
Yeah.
So some people can't afford it. I get it, right? So they can afford $200, they can afford $300, $500. Whatever you can afford, even $10, you can't afford anything, get the free course. Just make sure you understand what it is. So leverage digital platforms for growth. It's extremely important.
Absolutely. I love that advice. So, skills, okay? Just to remind you guys, when it comes to those skills gaps, digital skills, data, communication, okay? That is so important. Glenn has given so many gems today. I really hope that you guys are digesting this information. Those of you who are looking for work, schools, you need to understand what your students need for the end result. Glenn, how do people get in contact with you if they are interested in services through Work School?
Yeah, sure. You can go to the platform, workschool.co, or you can follow me on social media. I'm literally on all the social media. LinkedIn is my basically, I would say, top platform. Basically, and then I'm building content, free content on
Mhm.
YouTube. So feel free to like join my YouTube community, basically, and just get content. Sure.
Love
I,
it.
I I should say I do write a newsletter weekly for Substack, as well as
Nice.
I just put it on Medium as well.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to make sure that all of those links are also in these episodes. Okay, sometimes it starts with that free content, guys, and then you build upon that. Glenn, it has been an honor having you today, especially as one of our fellow EdUp hosts. Okay, Glenn, I'm going to have you back to have part two of this episode because this is a very important topic. Okay,
I
but
look
thank you
forward
once
for it.
again.
And yeah, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
The EdUp community is pretty important for what like the work
Yeah.
they're doing is extremely important. So I hope more people visit the platform and see what things are, because there's some really, really good podcasts on there. I tend to go
Mhm.
there and just like look at things and watch
Binge
things as
listen.
well. So that should be, I hope more people just like visit the EdUp platform and see it. 'Cause there's a range, right? From career stuff to education. There's such a rich dynamic platform. So hope people go there and visit. And thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Until next time. Bye, everyone.